Hello, hello, hello. Great Monday, great people. Welcome to Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. It is 7 o'clock that time. We are back with you on this amazing Monday, October the 10th, 2022. Again, super excited to be with you tonight. My name is Mone't and I am your host of Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. We come to you on Mondays at 7 p.m. sharp for a good hour of conversation, digging deep, taking down the mask so that we can have real life conversations. That it is my hope and my goal that you walk away, our listeners, our viewers walk away empowered, strengthened, and so that they can be empowered to action and to live their best life. So I am again excited to have you all tonight. I see you all out there. Come on in the room. We have a powerful guest tonight. I see that she is already out there in the place. And so you want to make sure as you are coming on tonight that you go ahead and take an opportunity to click and share, because tonight we're going to dig into this conversation. You know that we bring real life topics, and tonight is one that I know a lot of people are like, wait a minute, hold up, what is this about? But guess what, this is look, we dig deep here at Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves, and so I'm excited to have this conversation tonight with one of my soul wealth sisters who is going to join. I'm going to go ahead and share her bio tonight so that we can jump in. Tonight, our topic is, can I be saved and embrace my sensuality? Okay. Can I be saved and embrace my sensuality? See, a lot of times, we think and believe that, when we come over with Jesus, that we have to be, dry. We don't do anything. And so tonight we're going to go ahead and start this conversation. But before doing so, let me go ahead and share a little bit about our speaker tonight. And I'm going to pronounce your name. So Luz, if I pronounce it wrong, you correct us when you come on, all right? But LuzCelenia is the owner and founder of the Radiant Sessions, host of the Sex and Sensuality for Church Girls podcast. She is also founder of Charm City Live Music, certified spiritual and professional life coach, meditation guide, and energy healer. She holds a bachelor's degree in communications with a certificate in women's studies from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. She has worked in the entertainment industry for over 10 years at BET Networks and Sirius XM, before switching industries to work in the tech education field at 2U Inc. She is also a proud member of Alpha Nu Omega Sorority Inc. Her mission is to transform women's lives to experience more pleasure in life and empower them to create a relationship with God and self absence of shame, fear, and guilt through the art of sensuality. So everyone, again, as you're coming in tonight, you want to take a moment to click and share, because we are going to go ahead and jump into this conversation. Welcome, everybody. I hope you are having a powerful, powerful day. And we're going to go ahead and have our guests to come on tonight. Everyone, I hope that you are having a powerful day. Hello, beautiful.
Hello.
Awesome. You can hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Did I pronounce your name right?
You did. LuzCelenia. You did. You did a good job.
That's what. Yes. So welcome, my soul well sister, to our Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves platform. I am super excited to have you on tonight to talk about this topic that I believe that a lot of times, especially being in the church and, you can call yourself a church girl without being saved, period. That a lot of times we don't want to, or people kind of pause or frown on talking about. But I believe that in order to really live a life fully the way that God has intended us to, that we gotta, take down these masks and dig into some real conversations. And so when I when we had a conversation and I learned about what you were what you were doing, and I said, hey, come on, let's have this conversation. So again, I'm excited to have you on tonight. Here at Sister to Sister, we love to engage with our audience. So as they're coming in the room, if something resonates with you all, go ahead and drop it in the chat. If you have a question, go ahead and take a moment to drop it in the chat, because tonight it is our goal that you walk away empowered to action, healed, delivered, set free.
Yes.
So that you can live out your call, the purpose that God has for your life. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be here.
Yes. And I'm loving this top here. I'm loving that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I shared your bio. I want to just start off with you sharing more about yourself and as it relates to this topic. You talked about being saved, but then also how to embrace your sensuality. So how did you embark? What's the story behind this?
So the story starts with, being the church girl. Like, I was born and raised in the church. My mom loves to tell the story that she shouted the night before I was born. I grew up very strict Pentecostal upbringing, being raised by my mother, who's an elder, and my grandparents, who were pastors. And, I didn't just go to church all day Sunday. We had church every day.
Oh, yeah. You had that too.
Even if it was my grandparents leading service in the living room with me and my sister and my cousins.
Wow, yeah.
A full order of service, scripture, praise and worship. He preached to us because that is what he believed was his duty as the man of the house. And so growing up in that environment, this is too loud, earrings, makeup. I couldn't wear shorts unless it was under a dress. The dress but even then that wasn't necessary because the dress had to be lower than the knees.
Wow.
Anything that we had to do because it was our responsibility to make sure that our brothers in Christ did not sin. And about 7 years ago, I found myself in an abusive relationship. Being laid off from my job at BET that I'd been there for over a decade, and and overweight and depressed. And I was in this relationship, raising his son, living together, completely stuck in my life, or seemingly so. And I ended up in therapy. It was the only thing that I hadn't tried. Even I didn't feel like my prayers were working. It didn't feel like church was helping. Reading all those things that I grew up doing, it just wasn't. There was something missing.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I went to therapy, and she started to ask me questions about what I believed and what I was taught in church. And the big question was, is that what they believe in church, or is that what God believes about you? Because those two, depending on the teaching and the theology that you received, are not always the same things.
That's good. You said, is it what they were teaching you at church, or is it what God is teaching you or wanting you to take away, right?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
And it's a question I still ask myself very
Yeah.
often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially because in that environment, asking questions of God
Mm.
was also not allowed.
Mm.
You don't question God. And it's like, I'm not questioning God as in his supremacy as,
Right.
all knowing. I'm asking questions to understand.
Right.
But we weren't allowed to do that. We were
Yeah.
just supposed to have blind obedience.
Oh.
And there were a lot of things that I started to realize that I ingested, that they taught me, that they modeled for me about how I show up as a woman, that contributed to why I ended up in an abusive relationship.
Wow.
Because I believed when things happen to me, it must be my fault.
Mm.
Because it was always my responsibility to make sure that the man did not sin. So if he did something, it must be my fault.
Mm. Wow.
If and then I'm supposed to forgive him over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
No one really taught me, but we weren't allowed to have boundaries.
Wow.
And that's not even just a church thing. I think that's I'm Puerto Rican, so a minority,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
telling someone that doesn't feel good.
Mm.
And so in that place, when I started asking questions, I stumbled upon on the internet just like sensuality as a life practice.
Mm.
And so I know people hear sensuality and they automatically go to sex.
Mm-hmm.
And we know sex is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I definitely, that's why in the podcast title, I separated as sex and sensuality.
Yeah.
Because it absolutely is a beautiful thing when you talk about sex and engaging in those sex acts with your partner, your husband, your wife.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to ask the question in doing this research, what if we applied the tenets of sensuality that we use in sex, where we think about slowing down and enjoying ourselves and engaging all of our senses instead of being goal driven in the sex act? What if we enjoyed the connection and the journey? And what if we took those things and what if I applied it to the way that I live my life? And how would that change things? How would it change things if I didn't inherently demonize my womanly body, the vessel that God gave me to live this life in, and started to realize, well, maybe there's a purpose in us having bodies. And what if I regarded my experiences day in and day out, whether it's waking up and having an amazing cup of coffee, or taking a shower, and instead of rushing through the act of lotioning and oil and this and the other, what if that was a holy time?
Yeah.
What if I regarded my everyday experiences and decided that instead of this hustle and grind culture that we are a part of, that's the society, get money, go hard, be a boss, not necessarily bad, but how often do we hear that people build these businesses and make all this money, and we look at them like they're the goal, and we realize that they're depressed, and it doesn't mean much of anything. Because it didn't give them what they thought it was going to give them. And what if I realized, okay, life happens, we go through things, it's hard. Sometimes I think we make our trials and tribulations, like we over, spiritualize them.
Give it too much power.
And we give it too much power, and we over romanticize them, because, that's the mark of a person of God. Like, we just go through things.
You speak.
But we're also supposed to be living a life more abundantly. So where does that come in? And why do we think, and why have we been taught that pleasure is bad?
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's not about wanting pleasure. there's too much of anything is not good for us.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But what if we can find that balance in and of ourselves,
Yeah.
and regard that experience as holy, as divine?
Yeah.
And then I can also regard myself as divine.
Mm. So you just said a whole lot. So you know, I see y'all in the chat, and welcome everybody. Welcome. You want to go here, take a moment to click and share, because tonight is going to be heated, because we are here to what is it, to get out of the box, you know, go against the status, you know, quo, what everybody think. And let's really think about, be present in the moment, because as you are talking, what I'm hearing is, you know, being present in every day, because it's literally a gift.
Yes.
You know, being present and not trying and not rushing, engaging in every moment. And so you are absolutely right, because of course, me, you know, bring you on and everything. Let me do my research and see what, you know, what is this about? Wait a minute, hold on. You know, so yes, sex and sensuality is two different things. And everyone jumped. No, did you mean sexuality? No, sensuality. You know, and you know, even when you look at the definition, it is, you know, indulgence in your senses, and appetite, and you'll see fleshly, and you'll see all of those things. And depending who the person is and what perspective they're coming from, they're going to take it from 0 to 100. But what I'm hearing you say is that, can we just take a pause?
Yeah.
Can we stop? Can we just slow down from taking on everybody else's opinions, right, of what we should be doing and how we should see, and really let's also be in direct alignment with what God is saying. Because you said a lot about growing up, and you know, in your family, your grandparents, and we're gonna have church before we go to church, right?
We did.
All of that. And but then once you get to church, a lot of times God didn't say all of that. He didn't say do that. People taking it to the extreme. And so let's slow down. That's what I'm really here. Let's slow down and engage. Yes, there has to be a delicate balance.
Exactly.
You know, and so I'm loving this, because you're taking us also on a journey of you know, not jumping to the end result, but embracing that journey along the way.
Because in embracing that journey, we get to listen and hear and allow those things to be messengers. I take people through an exercise where I'll have them close their eyes and think of a happy memory. Don't tell the story in your head. Just think of that moment and feel the feelings of joy and happiness. And then think of where you feel it in your body. Because a lot of times we don't realize, like, and I was one of those people. I thought I had, you know, I felt things, and really I was just intellectualizing them. And it sounds so simple, like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't know that. But when someone told me, no, like, when you feel your feelings, it is a sensation in your body.
It comes with it, yeah. Feel your feelings. Did y'all hear? Feel your feelings.
Feel your feelings. And yeah, we want, it's natural to want to lean towards, we only want to feel the good stuff. But the problem with bypassing the quote unquote negative things is that we're also not giving ourselves full permission to really fully experience the good ones.
Because you haven't set in the...
Because they exist for a reason.
Yeah.
And so and I'm like, and I'm sure we can all imagine that one person. It's like, dang, like, they're always just so ornery. Like, is anything good? And I'm sure there are, you know, people have bad things happen to them all the time, and it's terrible, but they can't even enjoy the good things because they're not really, truly feeling the grief or the sadness or the anger. And then when you feel it, really as opposed to responding to it. Because we'll respond to the feeling really quick. You know, we hear about triggers all the time on social media now. And we're like, I'm triggered. And we think that that's a green pass to just go off. And it's like, no, when you're triggered with those negative emotions that we experience, that's a call in.
It's a call
to feel it and say, what is it that I need right now? What is this telling me? I'm angry because someone crossed the line.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm hurt because they harmed me.
Yeah. So responding is not sitting in or feeling your feelings. Responding, you're acting towards it. And really a lot of times when you just respond, you haven't even digest the whole situation.
You don't even understand it.
You don't know what you're responding
to. And oftentimes we're responding to something that triggered us, but the response isn't just about that one thing. It's about all the other things that are left unaddressed.
Whoa, that's good right there. So now that's a cycle. Because every time something familiar or, you know, like you said, the flags come up, then I'm responding. But it's so important. Are you saying if we embrace this art of sensuality, seeing it from a different perspective, that we will be able to slow down, engage, feel our feelings, and perhaps be on a better path?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about, it's being intentional. If you're going to take on sensuality as a life practice, as a spiritual practice, it's about making the decision to be intentional. And I get it. I am a single woman without children. And so there's a privilege that comes with that because I don't have people and children and all of these other things that are pulling on me. But, and I, encourage my moms and wives, you have to be at the top, if not very near the top of your list.
Yeah.
So that you can show up as the mom and the wife and the boss and the minister and all of these other titles and responsibilities that we have. And it's like, even with like when I'm coaching a mom and I'll ask them, like, what is it that you yell at your kid about the most? Oh, she just talks too much. And I'm like, is that something that you got in trouble with a lot as a child? And they'll start to cry.
Yeah.
Because at that moment they didn't realize they were lashing out on their child.
Yeah.
Because of an unhealed trauma from their own childhood. And they were just passing it on because at no point in time, and you don't feel like you have the time, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But in the moment, if you can't, then you say, all right, this is something I need to sit with. I need to ask myself some questions. I need to feel this. Is this really about right now? When was the first time that I remember feeling this feeling?
Wow. Somebody need to type that in. When was the first time that I remember feeling this feeling? When did I feel it first?
And then, with the good things, we can, now that also teaches us, well, what can I invite in my life that gives me this, that helps me to be the person that shines, that is radiant, that glows. That also is teaching us, because we get to create, we are powerful beings.
Yeah.
We are called to do greater works.
Yeah.
And so how do we fulfill the mission that is on our lives if we are so burdened down with all the things that have happened to us and all the things that we're carrying, and we're not really creating the life that we need to have in order to fulfill that calling? And we get so frustrated because we know that there's more. Like, we don't know how to get there. We don't even trust ourselves. We don't even know what the voice of God sounds like.
Yeah. How is he speaking to me?
How does he speak to you? I told some young women, I was like, this sister to sister.
Right.
We hear a lot about, oh, women are crazy, they're emotional.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things can and very often breeds a distrust in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And any woman who menstruates, if especially if you're regular,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, I know I'm supposed to come on between the 10th and the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the 7th, and you leave for the day, and you're getting ready, and something in your body is like, you should grab whatever it is that you use, and you don't, because you're not supposed to start for another 3 days. Oh, I got time. I'm not supposed to start. I'm regular. And you leave, and you start.
And you start.
And you sit there and be like, oh, I didn't listen to myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in the world, we'll call it an intuition. But for me, I know my intuition is the voice of the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That even with our menstruation.
See, it's the little things.
And it's those little things that help us to hear God in the big things. It's like a muscle. But if we can't learn to hear and heed the voice, and in those moments, if you think about it, who does that sound? What does that voice sound like? It sounds like your voice. Sometimes there's been a few times where I'll hear God and it's definitely an external voice. Mm-hmm. Or I hear God in a message in a movie, or I hear God in the trees, in the sky, and God speaks through a rock. God speaks through, but most of the time, it is an internal voice, and she sounds like me. Yeah. And if I don't trust myself, and I don't know where that lands in my body, because that's the other thing. Not only do I know the voice, but I know when God is speaking to me, I feel it in my womb. And so an invitation for sensuality is to discover that, because I know if I feel it somewhere else, that's probably anxiety, that's probably fear, because I know where those things live in my body. When I feel it here, and I know, and because I know it, I heed it, and that's where I get on the path of alignment. And that's where the pleasure comes in. Because even when things happen, because life is always happening, trials, tribulations, tests, all of these things happen, the flow that I'm on, you think of a river. Yeah. The path of least resistance. Yeah, there's rocks, there's boulders, there's things that come up. Mm-hmm. But that flow is so seamless. Yeah. Versus someone trying to fight the flow, and how much energy you're exerting trying to go either across it to get to the other side because we think that's shorter and that's easier, or completely against it for whatever the reason. Yeah. And when we get into that alignment, even in moments of distress, I can feel my feelings, because we don't bypass the moment of frustration or whatever it is that comes up when your tire gets flat and you're on the way somewhere, and oh my gosh. But then I can also, because once I do that, then I can get to the moment of gratitude. Mm-hmm. Because in that moment, I can always find something to be grateful for. I traveled to Puerto Rico for a week, and I came back, my car wouldn't start. Mm-hmm. It was parked at my godmother's house, and again, in that moment, I had more than enough time. It was raining, so they weren't going to come for 2 hours, and I definitely was like, I done spent all this money, and now I got to get towed from DC to Baltimore, and oh my gosh. And as I processed that and felt that, and the fear of not being able to afford it, at that, then I could get to the point, but God, thank you. Yeah. Because this could have happened on 95.
A whole nother.
This could have happened. It was 1:00 in the morning. I drove to Deep Creek two weeks ago. It could have happened driving up the mountain, because it wasn't even my battery. It was my alternator. So it could have just went out mid-drive. Wow. It could have. But I was safe. Yeah. I was protected. And and at the end of the day, I could afford it.
Wow. Yeah. You just, that's when you just sit in it. You just sit in it. And because I do believe that we are so rushed in our everyday lives, and we don't take that moment to realize that it could be a whole nother way. And so then, so you talked about the power of, sitting in it, feeling your feelings, but getting to that gratitude. The gratitude, a lot of times, if we embrace that, being grateful, being thankful. I was reading the scripture today. It said, oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, because he is, that consistency, right? But if we allow those things that come to distract us, come to get us off of alignment and off focus, because yes, those things are going to come, then we will miss the opportunity to be grateful, to actually bring that flow of blessings, those things that he already have available for us, the things that are readily, the abundance that's available. And so when we don't embrace it, I believe we're robbing ourselves even the more of those moments. Wow. Yeah. Look, you done changed my whole look. You know, shed some light on that thing. So how can we? So tell us, because yes, your your business is the Radiant Sessions, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I heard you talking about that. And so tell us, because that's the flip side of it, right? Tell us a little bit, more about that, and in conjunction with that, how do we begin to now apply this concept of sensuality in our lives from the perspective you share today?
So what I really believe and what I teach is that you really do have to start with your body. So much. One, we store trauma in our body. We may, in our minds, put it in that little corner because it feels really dangerous to think about that thing or things that have happened to us. But our body remembers everything. And so the first invitation that I give to every woman is every single day, whether it's at the beginning of your day, which is what I mostly encourage, or even at the end of your day, I want you to stand in the mirror fully naked and look at yourself and speak affirmations. Tell yourself that you love yourself, that you are beautiful. Touch your body, touch your hips, your curves, your lumps. And as you touch yourself, really feel your body. We don't take time to just be present within this body that we were given. We could have been created to be anything, but we were given these bodies when God created the earth. And so to really start to build that connection with ourselves. Because again, we learn in church that, we're spiritual, we're a spirit in a body, and we lean really heavy into our spirit man. And we kind of put to the side our flesh and our soul, because we got to put those things under subjection. As opposed to learning how to integrate it and to be a 3-pronged person where all of those things create a divine experience. And so even for those who have had sex, are having sex, regardless of the status, I even tell them, like, a lot of we're using that to bypass, because it feels good. But if you really sit and think about it, how often do you really, really enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you know, we can find all kind of stuff about men are selfish and this and the other. They don't know how to please us. Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
But how connected are we to our bodies to even know how and what feels good?
Yeah.
Because we've been taught that our bodies are sinful. And then we think, or they think, that we get married and we flip the switch and all of a sudden it just turns on, and everything that we heard and ingested as single people, as children, because I remember hearing this as a child. My grandfather used to give me a speech about making sure you keep your legs closed. Men only want one thing from you. And I know he meant well, so I don't demonize him for him trying to protect me in a patriarchal society.
Mm-hmm.
But it also didn't teach me about how holy just my body is.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I was so disconnected with myself,
yeah,
that I was having a hard time really true. I would feel God in high worship experiences. And even that can also almost become an addiction, because that's the only time we experience God and when we have church. Because we need all of that element, because we are really disconnected with who we are.
You know what just came to my mind when you said that is that because a lot of times in the church, it's so much emphasis placed on that, then when we walk away, when we leave the church, then you had all this experience in the building, but you don't know the build. He want to be in your building, but you don't know how to, you don't know what to do with it. And when you go home, you don't even apply the principles, the concepts that,
and you don't know how.
Because you don't know how. You don't know how to, in the absence of all of the aesthetic, everything is going on in the church building.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that with this pandemic and everything, God, he took us back to ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he wants us to have a closer relationship with him. But in that process, you got to know who you are.
Yep. It's very fear-based.
Yeah.
Because again, like when I realized, oh, we're having church every day, and you can't go to the movies, and you can't go to your friend's house, and you can't, because you're so afraid of sin,
the consequence,
that the only way to keep me from that is if I just stay in church all the time. And if that works for you, cool. But I was so depressed.
Yeah.
And and then you hear, thankfully now I think churches are becoming better about talking about mental health, but that is very new.
Yeah.
If you're depressed, oh, you ain't praying enough.
Yeah.
You must be sinning.
Yeah.
And it's like, as opposed to realizing, no, there's something is calling me and telling me there's more.
Yeah. And it was like, sin to go to the therapist or get help. The only reason why I'm going to a doctor is so they can check out,
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's not a sin now, because I think at some point, if you had cancer, you better pray. Like, doctors in general in a lot of places were very much demonized. It meant you didn't have faith.
Exactly.
And
but no, like, God has given us these things for us to use them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And so, and that's the other thing too, because we demonize so much, but the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
And
so when do we start to go and reclaim the things that are rightfully ours? Even if they've been perverted, okay, we can acknowledge that. But a perversion of something is not its inherent value.
Mm-hmm. My gosh.
And so, yeah, if I am dishonoring my temple, that is me missing the mark.
Mm-hmm.
That is sin. As opposed to, and I use my words very carefully, because I learned, I'm like, they taught me that sin was a list of things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you try as hard as you can to stay away from those things. And if and when you do those things, you carry shame and guilt, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be punished, or I'm not going to get that thing.
Yeah.
I was a virgin till I was 23.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, you gotta stay a virgin, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll get a husband, and that means you're a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like realizing that's not true. Just because staying a virgin doesn't guarantee you a husband. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but I'm not even doing it for the right reasons.
It's the reason behind it, that I want to present my body. I want to be a living sacrifice. I want to be holy, before God. You are that is so good, because the same thing for me as I got older. It's my perspective in my relationship. I really had a personal relationship with God. I'm like, okay, I do want to abstain, right?
Yeah.
That's my desire, but no, it's no longer the fear of, right? But no, God, I really want to do this because I want to be in right standing with you. I don't want to, be fearful of, yes, the wrath that'll come, all the other things. But I really want to be in right standing and connection. So tonight, as we're in this conversation, I believe what's really showing up, and it's consistent with, our other shows, is that taking time to, and this is really what I want to impress upon every viewer and every listener with Sister to Sister, is this is your time. This is time to pause and to engage and to do a self-check. Check in with you. Really, where are you when it comes to, every day? Am I just in the rushing through? Am I really engaging? Am I being present? Am I really listening to what God is saying? Do I even know his voice?
Yeah.
Have I slowed down enough? You said something real good, and it's that, typically that the voice that when God is speaking to you, it's like your voice. But sometimes people think it's so weird, right? Like, am I talking to myself?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not good to talk to yourself, right? But you have to know how he speaks to you. Some it is an audible voice. Some it's the impression. You said that it's not only the fact that I'm hearing, but where is it resonating, settling in my body? But the only way that we get to be in tune is to those things is if we slow down.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, because it's like getting spiritual counsel, going to your pastor, asking them to divine on your behalf. It's not bad. Yeah. But the veil was ripped.
Yeah. So we
all have that ability to hear from God. We shouldn't have to always rely on someone else to hear God for us.
That's maturity too, spiritual maturity.
I am almost 40 years old. It took me 35 years to realize I would go to church, and all of a sudden everything changed, because so much was just God confirming what I was already hearing, or clarifying, or, but it wasn't brand new information.
Yeah.
All the time. Because again, and then in those moments, it's like, it lends to that point. It's like, I can't trust the God in me. And we run the risk of putting someone else on a pedestal because, they hear God and I need to run to them all the time. But what happens when they're not available?
Right.
What happens when they're going through something? Because even they are human.
Yeah. They might need to lean on you.
We get so hurt and we get so mad that they're not available or they don't have it. Except, like you said, this pandemic was a call for us to go within. To be like, yeah, church is great. I faithfully attend my church. But can you meet with me in your living room?
Communion. Oh my goodness. I was listening to something the other day, and I was driving back, I think, from Philadelphia, and the worship lead, I think it was Spontaneous Worship, they were talking about, no, it was Mike Jr., Pastor Mike Jr. So anyway, they were talking about membership, communion over membership.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God is calling for us to commune with him. And that is not forsaking the assembly or anything, but we forget that our ultimate relationship is with God. The purpose that we're going to the church building, wherever we're going, right, is to be in relationship alignment with him. God, what is it that you want to, what is my purpose? What am I here for? And if all of it is not leading us to that purpose, then what is it?
Yeah.
Is it
and that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's sin.
Yeah.
Because it may not be that you're doing something that's been stigmatized by the church. You may not be smoking, and you may not be drinking, and you may not be doing those things. But if you are not doing what God called you to do, then you're sinning.
You're going against, not.
And so I'm not smoking kills you. Eventually you get cancer. So it's not even about advocating for that, but it's like, okay, so you're not doing those things. So what?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in the church, you're cleaning the church, and you're serving God at your church. Not a bad thing, but is it what God told you to do? Because if you're cleaning the church day in and day out, and it is not what God called you to do, then you are missing the mark.
Yeah. I remember being in a place where I was just so overwhelmed with, growing up in church, and it was, a church that I grew up in. And I mean, I was on every committee. I was on everything. I was the youth, the trustee board. I was over the scholarship committee. I was the youth president. Oh my goodness. Now, I thank God for the experience, but God, he set me down. Oh my goodness. He said, is your obedience more to the people or to me? Like, hold up. All the things that you're doing is good, right? It's good, but is it what I called you to do? Or is it what somebody else asked you to do? And I think that we have to really have that wake-up call and that reality check that everything that we do has to be what he has, and that what he has called us to. Because if we're not doing it, like you said, we're missing the mark. Maybe somebody else was supposed to do it, but because you said yes, because you just want to, like, am I doing it because I want to please the person? Leadership has, Yeah.
I mean, a very practical example is, milk. Milk isn't bad. I can drink milk, but you can't because you're lactose intolerant, but you keep drinking it.
You keep drinking it.
And it makes you feel, it might taste good, but the moment you ingest it and your body starts to try to pass it through all the things that it needs to pass through, it makes your body feel bad because you have sinned against yourself. And so somebody could take that and say, drinking milk is a sin because it was bad for them. And now no one should drink it. But that's not the case because everybody is not lactose intolerant.
So you got to know yourself. What's good for you?
Yeah, that's it.
No,
and that becomes a more enlightened and a more awakened version of your spiritual relationship with God, where it goes beyond rules. That we give children rules. I think too many of us are living this Christian life in an infantile state. Because we give children rules. Why? Because they are not raised, they're not born with sense. And that's, not like animals that they know as soon as they're born, they know they have this instinct to them. Children have instinct, but they don't, once they start walking, they don't know that the oven is hot. So if you don't watch them and teach them
Mm-hmm.
that that is dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't, and then put boundaries in place until they understand, so that they don't touch it.
Yeah.
And then can understand and apply that understanding to other things, because as they mature, they realize, oh, it's not just that, it's other things that conduct heat, like the iron and a light bulb. And, you know, and so they can, and that's wisdom.
Yeah.
And so if you liken that to your spiritual maturation, why are we still acting like 3-year-olds?
Yeah. We got to be cold. God, I believe that God is calling us to a higher, we got to get to the place of maturity. I had a conversation the other day, and I immediately, I mean, it's like, level up. Come on. Mm-hmm. Y'all want to level up and all these other things. Level up in your spiritual relationship with me. Yep. Your community, you know, it's a higher standard.
Yep. You know, and I mean, and then to take that step further, it's like, maybe they do burn themselves.
Yeah.
And they can be, oh, that hurt. I don't never want to do that again. But again, why it spiritually, why do we have to go through those hard things? If we're hearing God, why do we want to be disobedient? Because like someone said earlier, we make those things like a badge of honor. Oh, we went through that. Mm-hmm. But I be honest with myself, healing from my abusive relationship, somebody be like, oh God, it was God's plan. It wasn't. Because in the first 6 months, I can remember vividly about 3 times that things happened and God was like, this is not it. And I was like, but he said, but God, and I stayed.
And he was speaking to you, but you didn't trust it.
But I didn't trust it. And I wanted this to mean something. Yeah. I wanted this to mean that it wasn't me. And God was clearly saying, it's not you. He's dangerous. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen. And I went through it. And I'm going to make it mean something. Mm-hmm. The Radiant Sessions was born from that, because I have the power and the authority to alchemize that situation. But it was never God's intention.
Yeah.
And so I could wear it as a badge of honor and be like, oh, that was God's plan. He knows all. Yeah, he knew it was going to happen. But he was still trying to prevent me from going through it.
Yeah. So we take ourselves.
And so, and even to take a step further, realizing that every relationship before that, up until a point, everyone got worse because I wasn't listening in the last one. And the one before that. And the one before that. And so it took me, so I'm like, I'm touching the burner. It's like, oh, it's a little warm. Oh, okay, yeah. That's a warning sign. And God is saying, hey, don't do that. That's gonna hurt you. And that ends, and I go into another relationship, and it gets a little hotter.
You taking it, yeah.
And I'm taking it, and I'm like, oh, but I'm alive. I'm still alive. I'm. It's not that bad. I can take it. Mm-hmm. As Black women, specific, like we wear that as a badge of honor. We are strong. We done been through so much. And yeah, but how much of that is because, oh, I can take it.
Self-inflicted.
I can take that. It isn't my fault. I will never take responsibility for what he did. But there goes the burn. Oh, it's a little hotter. Until this last one, when he threatened my life. Yeah. And even almost more than just threatening my physical life, I felt like my soul was dying. Wow. And if I didn't get out, I was afraid I wouldn't. That I had that window of opportunity to be like, oh, this is it. This is and I told my therapist, oh, this feels like life or death. And she's like, you never told me that your life was in danger. I was like, because he's too smart to physically threaten me until the very, very end. He pulled a gun out on me the last day that I was with him. But up until then, he knew better because he's a Marine and all those things. But it wasn't about him killing me. It was about me not even recognizing myself, because I had already allowed him to crush the very essence of who I was. At that point, the burner was red and my hand was planted on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would just listen when the burner was warm,
Mm-hmm.
and
So,
did the work
mm-hmm.
to understand, why is it that I am inviting men into my life who disrespect me and dishonor me? What is that? Where is that coming from? Why do I not value and love myself enough that when a man treats me that way, I disconnect and say, oh, absolutely not.
Cut it off, yeah.
Because that's what all those things were. It was an invitation to look at myself and to heal the little girl who, for reasons that I understand, my mom was young and she's trying to get her life on track. Mm-hmm. And she left me with my grandparents who raised me well, mm-hmm. and loved me, and I was safe. But that little girl felt abandoned. And she felt abandoned because she felt like there was something wrong with her. And that taught her to not love and value herself. Because how can someone leave you if they really love you? And so when these men were harming me, they were still there though.
Yeah, yeah.
And so because they were still there and I'm trying to heal an abandonment wound that I haven't even realized I have, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, well, no, I can take it because I can just forgive them. And they say they're sorry because they want to stay. And so sensuality at that point, mm-hmm. was, okay, let me build this trust in myself, because I remember feeling these things, but I didn't trust it because I didn't have the proof that he was this person. I didn't know. So there was still a chance that he was, that I was crazy. Oh no, he's buying me nice things and he's doing these nice things. There's no way. He's been through a lot. He was abused. He has PTSD, all these excuses.
So you lean on those excuses, those things that make you think that, oh no, this is worth holding on some more, getting burnt some more. But
all because I had those things happen to me, and it bred a distrust and disconnection of myself, which really informed a distrust and a disconnection. Even though I knew God, mm-hmm. was saved, baptized, spoke in tongues, served God, was praise team, choir, youth president, secretary, this person, that person. I was all those things. Mm-hmm. But if I was really honest, and people were like, oh, just have faith.
Yeah.
There was only but so much. Yeah. Because how do you trust or have faith in anything if you can't or trust yourself? How? But I don't even know what it feels like.
Yeah.
There's not a knowledge or an awareness in my body to even know what trust feels like, because I don't give it to me.
But you, in that moment, you are not also giving it the time and the space to entertain it enough to figure out, to get the revelation or like, to grasp a hold. But also, even when I think back, it's like, it's not about, it's about knowing who God, mm-hmm. right? Who I am in him. So it's really not, if I can hold on to his faith and his meaning or his purpose for creating me, like I know I'm here for a purpose, let that be the starting point. I know that's, for me.
Yeah.
But also taking time enough to be still.
Yeah.
To grasp a hold of that, because in the moments that we cannot, we can't even understand or articulate, find the words, mm-hmm. To connect to our worth or our value.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it doesn't even start with me. It
Mm-hmm.
starts with him.
Yeah.
But some way, somehow, I lost that connection.
Well, yeah, because it felt bad. So in those moments, it's like I can look back and I remember those moments. It's like it didn't feel good. And I wanted so much to believe that this man came into my life and God brought him into my life. And when anything came up that was calling me in to say, hey, pay attention here. Sit with this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, that doesn't match up with what I want
What
him
you
to
want.
be. That doesn't match up. No, because he said this, and this is confirmation, and it's not like confirmation bias because
Mm-hmm.
we'll seek out the things that we really truly believe about ourselves
Mm-hmm.
to prove to us
that
it's true.
Right. Yeah.
If you tell yourself that you are ugly all the time, you are literally sending out signals to the world to tell you that you're ugly. And
Mm-hmm.
somebody tells you that you're beautiful. No, I'm not. Because that doesn't confirm what you believe.
Mm-hmm. We don't realize how powerful our words, our thoughts are seeds, we don't realize how powerful those things are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have really tonight, really, we can go on and on and on, but
We could.
brought a whole nother perspective in, I believe. And even as I'm talking, it kind of like slowed me down, because to really think about how we are engaging every day. And as we're closing out tonight, back to our topic tonight, can I be saved and embrace my sensuality?
Absolutely.
Can I be saved and embrace my sensuality? And hopefully everyone who joined tonight was able to glean and pull away and get another perspective on sensuality, and not shut it down, but to see it from the perspective that you shared, and really embracing and engaging, being more present with our senses and things of that nature. And so as we're closing out, I want you to share or just give us, because you shared with us one tip in terms of standing in the mirror. How can we really apply this to our lives? And even if you want to just briefly recap kind of your perspective on it, but how can we now walk away and apply this to our lives? So you have any other last tips you want to share with us?
Absolutely. And so, the affirmations and speaking, those things over your body, absolutely. But when those things come up, and those negative things, those harmful things,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to overlook them or bypass them. I want you to accept the invitation to dig deep, to feel them, and to understand why you believe them. Who taught you that? What taught you that? Where did you learn it? Because that's the root. Our words and our thoughts are so powerful, but they did not spontaneously just appear.
Mm-hmm.
They are fruits of your belief.
Yeah.
Of what you believe about yourself. And in psychology, they say, from birth up until, I've heard 7 to like 14, it's almost like your brain is in a hypnotic state.
Mm-hmm.
That the things that are said to you, the things that happen to you are being imprinted on your very identity without your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we live this life as a person as a result of things that we did not have control over. And we don't take the time to understand why we believe them in order to decide that I don't have to believe it anymore.
I can throw them away.
And I can now speak and change my belief about who I am in God. Because yet there's plenty of scripture that we can use that inform us about who we are. But that doesn't mean that we believe it, even if we say it. We're reciting scripture. Because your actions are really what's telling you if you really truly believe. And then you think about it, churches, we say, you know, I'm called, I'm this, I'm that, but we also talk about how we're sinners and we're saved by grace, and yes, but we take that on as an identity. And it's like, but God doesn't see us like that.
Mm-hmm.
When God looks at us, he sees his son. He doesn't see a wretched person. But we sing these worship songs and it informs how we what we believe, who we are, and how we live. And so when you take those moments, absolutely feel the good things, let it inform you on how you can invite those beautiful experiences more and more in your life. But when you realize that there are some things that are causing you harm that is not lining up with the word of God, pay attention to what you say.
Mm-hmm.
When you're angry, when you're hurt, when you're extremely tired, and like, ooh, listen to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then do the work. Do that shadow work, which is a psychological term, where instead of, you know, we bypass the shadow side of ourselves, our anger and all of those things. It's like, oh no, do that shadow work to let it teach you about something. It's calling you, it's calling your name. It needs attention. Take the time. You are worth it.
Yeah.
You are worth that and so much more. The reason why I call my business the Radiant Sessions is because as a woman, you hear and you see how, like, when a woman breaks up with a man, she has that glow up. She go, you know, that they joke about she went and got another degree. She lost weight. She looks amazing, this and the other. And that's great. But the true glow up is always inside. When you're external and what you look like, and I love the femininity and stilettos and makeup and wearing pink, and I love all those things. But we've all seen a woman who is beautiful externally and it'd be like, but she ain't really beautiful.
That inside, you can just hear it.
Because it's more of a mask than it is a reflection.
Come on.
And so we are a light unto the world, a light on the hill. Mm-hmm. We are all called to be radiant. That, when you think of radiance, it comes from inside. And no one can deny it. They might not like it, but they can't stop it. But it requires a level of intention. It requires us to give ourselves the time. And I would be remiss if I didn't say this. If that's not something that you feel that you can do on your own, then you get help. It's why I started Radiant Sessions, so I could coach people through these processes, through the Radiant Principles, which is release, align, delight, indulge, accept, nurture, and trust. Mm-hmm. We go through those steps in a 6-week coaching program, or because if it's more than what I could do to help, then I'm going to refer you to a therapist. I've been in therapy off and on for 7 years. It's a beautiful thing.
Get what you need.
And there is no shame at all. If you're sick, you go to the doctor. If you have cancer, there are specialists for all manner of diseases in our body. And God has been given wisdom to the psychological profession. Of course, they all have their things.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people this, if you feel more comfortable going to a Christian psychologist, by all means, do that. But even if you don't, a good therapist is never going to try to change your beliefs. So you don't have to worry about them trying to indoctrinate you against Jesus, because a therapist actually isn't the person healing you. The therapist is teaching you how to heal yourself. Mm-hmm. Physician, heal thyself. Because in the word it says that God has given us everything that we need. Mm-hmm. We just don't know how to access it and how to utilize it. And there are things that are happening and have happened to our soul, our mind, that people have wisdom and science and education for, to help us so we can heal from those things and realize that even with everything that we've experienced, everything that has been done to us, everything that we've done to ourselves, that we are worthy. We never stopped being worthy. We're not broken. I know that's popular Christian terminology. We're not broken. We might feel like we are. We're not. We are whole. We just need to learn how to access it.
That's good. Woo! Yes, ma'am. Well, we've been in a radiant session tonight.
Yes.
I am so grateful and thank you. I'm grateful to have had you tonight, Celenia. Oh my goodness. Look, I believe that tonight was an invitation to all of us, to our viewers, our listeners, to come on in, an invitation to slow down and to really be present and ask these questions of yourself. So for everyone who has been on tonight, look, you might need to go all the way back to the beginning to really digest, listen to tonight's conversation, because we are in a place that we have to glow up, level up, elevate, get to the next level. But if we do not take this time, accept this invitation to sit with yourself, to evaluate where you are, you will continue to be on this life of, like, you're going on a merry-go-round, on cycles. Find yourself back at the same place. You might have ended a relationship, but you're in another relationship with the same type of person. Why? Why is it showing up again? Because you have not taken the time to be still, to sit in it. Then to say yes and do the action work to get the help that you need if you cannot do it by yourself. And 9 times out of 10, it may be something that you cannot do by yourself, but you first have to do that work and to sit still. Only you tonight know what that looks like. Only you know. And as Celenia shared tonight, we have to trust ourselves, because typically that's God, that's the Holy Spirit for the believers speaking to you. But have you sat still long enough to recognize his voice? And so tonight, I thank you so much for sharing on this topic, sharing on your journey, being very transparent on your journey. And it is my prayer is that now we can all go away, walk away, and be radiant, be the lights that God has truly called us to be in this earth. Because everything, I believe, everything that we need is already within us.
Already here.
We just have to discover it and do that work. So tell us, how can we continue to connect? Is there someone who's interested? Where can we find you? If someone wants a session, leave us with your information.
Absolutely. So you can go to the website. It's www.theradiantsessions.com. And currently, I am offering complimentary 30-minute coaching sessions. So if you go to the website and just fill out and put out your email on the Connect form, I will email you my Calendly, and we will schedule a time for you to get your complimentary 30-minute session. I am going to be launching a 6-week group coaching course called Reigniting Radiance. So you will also be signed up to receive more information about that. You can also follow me on Instagram at _LuzCelenia, LuzCelenia_ that goes on both sides of the name, as well as on TikTok, same name. And then you can listen to Sex and Sensuality for Church Girls on new episodes on Wednesdays on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Pandora, all the places. But if you go to the website, theradiantsessions.com, and go to the podcast tab, you can listen to it there, and you can also subscribe to all the major podcasting apps.
Look, she just laid it down for y'all. So let's get connected so we can be the lights in the earth. Thank you again, LuzCelenia, for coming on tonight. Everybody, this has been another Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. Now you have the information. It goes in, it forms, and now you have the responsibility, the charge to make sure you do the action work. So tonight, be empowered and committed to apply the information that has been shared. We thank you for joining us tonight. Again, we are getting gooder and gooder, better and better. We are elevating and living the life on purpose and intentionally. Next week, we'll be back here, same place, same time. Don't just meet us here, but beat us here. Thank you all for joining tonight. And we will stay connected. Soul Wealth Sister. Be blessed.
Yes, thank you so much. This was beautiful. Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care, everybody. Love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.